So the Department of Justice in the United States has indicted people associated with Tenet Media, which is a Russian front organization, according to the Department of Justice, that paid millions of dollars to Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, and Benny Johnson, as well as smaller amounts of money to other content creators,
Mm-hmm.
right-wing content creators. The company was run by Lauren Chin and her husband, and they were essentially a front company for the Russian government, according to the indictments. That supposedly the people who received the payments were unwittingly accepting the
Mm-hmm.
money, millions of dollars. And after accepting this money, Tim Pool, one of the people involved, actually came out in a video and said that the United States should apologize to Russia and that Ukraine is the enemy of the United States. Some pretty
Yeah.
wild takes after getting a payout. What do you
No,
what
no,
do
no.
you
Wait a second. He said it before
Oh,
it
he's
was revealed.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I must correct
Well, thank
for
you
my
for correcting.
fellow
No,
boy
I
people.
appreciate it. You know more about
Yeah,
this than
yeah,
me,
yes.
so
Yeah, he's. I hate him, but he did say it before it was revealed. So he did say it for money, I suppose. But yeah, but it's just interestingly enough with those people, you kind of hard to tell because their opinions might legitimately ally 100% with Russian propaganda. Like I'm not saying it's not possible, but it is a bit sus to say the least. Yeah, and anyone with like couple of brain cells can tell that's a little bit sus. He also lied blatantly about things, or or he's that dumb. I don't know. Also possible. Not knocking that down. But for example, when he was like the reason why the war happened and because Ukraine blew up the north pipe,
Nord Stream 2.
the gas pipe. Yeah, yeah. And he said that that's because of that Russia invaded. Never mind the fact that the pipe was blown up half a year after the full scale invasion. So the timeline is quite difficult for him apparently, because that was definitely not the reason why they invaded Ukraine, the blowing up of the pipe. And never mind that they invaded in 2014, and it's all have happened before that. But the 6 months precisely has passed of the full scale invasion before the explosion of the pipe. But that's also the example of a very very bad coverage because it's just blatant lies.
Now, Russia does seem has a very strong incentive and interest in interfering in American politics in 2016 and this election with the Tenet Media stuff. Also, one of the big anti-Gamergate people who lied about Gamergate for years, Ian Miles Cheong. Do you know him? He's
Yeah, oh yeah,
he's
yeah, I
like
saw him post on Twitter.
he lives in
Hmm.
Malaysia, and he takes money from the Russians, or supposedly because he writes for Russia Today, actually,
Hmm.
and he pretends to be an
He's a
American who cares about politics in Chicago and spreads misinformation about all sorts of topics.
sure,
How
sure, buddy.
how serious do you think Russian interference efforts are in the United States or in Europe in general, in trying to promote fake news? Essentially, is that a serious
Very
threat?
serious. Yeah, you aren't taking it anywhere near as seriously as I would like in the West in particular, but especially in the United States, because if Russians are good at anything, if I must give them credit, it's hybrid warfare and election interference. Those things they're very good at. So basically, they're much less successful on the front, but they are very successful in buying off politicians, in buying off media people to promote the narratives that are useful to them, to their war effort, and also the ones that are simply destructive for the country itself. So it doesn't have to be like about Ukraine in particular, for example, although there is, of course, big interest there for them. But for example, doing anything that like if you learn a little bit about like how KGB works, KGB, things like that, and how the infiltration works, propaganda works in that sense, you have to like kind of amplify all the controversial shit. So you don't have to even do it from one side. There was like this infamous investigation when they found Russia giving money to Black Lives Matter protesters and Proud Boys or some shit like that, like completely opposite, far left, far right orcs and things like that. So it's not like even ideological in that sense. It's just to amplify the conflicting parties and the radical parties and the people that tend to amplify the issues that already people in the country find to be uh, toxic, provocative, sow dissent, so to speak, sow division between people, right? So you would see Russian accounts on Twitter, for example, amplify things like the immigration problem on the border in America, right? So they would post as if they are Americans, right? And then you find out that they're writing from Syktyvkar in Russia, you know? So it's pretty fucking awful. And especially Twitter, thanks to Elon, amplified that sort of messaging. And Russian bots have been pretending to be all sorts of people, including Americans, for quite some time now. And this creates this like massive, huge narrative that isn't really there. And also, people like Tim Pool, for example, are treasonous fucks to your country, and they pretend like this is their authentic opinion, right? Alternative media. So people go listen to it and they're like, so I don't trust like institutions, I don't trust like legacy media, I don't trust any of that. So I go to this like truth teller guy who is independent, so I get his own opinion. And that own opinion is not his own opinion, it's Russian propaganda translated in English, right? So if you don't remember, like, I don't know if you saw this, but Tulsi Gabbard did this video and she was like, there are 30 biolabs in Ukraine and all that, like the cringiest, the most memeiest old shit you can. But as cringe as it is, it's pretty also terrifying, because that person now can be the director of your intelligence.
Yeah, no, it
So
is terrifying. It's bad.
fun and games ended, in my opinion. So right, so that all is fun and games until those people have power in your country, and the goal of Russia is to uplift those people and place them in power in your country. So they succeeded, I must say. And yeah, and they also do it in a much smaller scale in smaller countries, like recently in Moldova. Huge election problem there. The interference from Russian buying off 30, 100,000 people to vote for pro-Russian candidate and all sorts of things, right? In Georgia, there were like absolute trash party, like in terms of like people being paid to beat up the voters and pushing ballots, like 100 ballots in one ballot vote, like all sorts of crazy like election fraud and like interference paid by Russia. And yeah, of course there are blatant things like that, but in the United States you can't really do that. Obviously they don't need to exert as much control as they do in Moldova and Georgia and things like that, but they still can do it through people like Temple, Rubin, whatever you name them, right? And of course Elon Musk, who speaks with Putin apparently as if they're pals on the phones, and people like Trump as well, obviously. So Tulsi Stein, with all those motherfuckers, they're all part of that thing, obviously.
Now, you've been on CNN several times. What do you think about how
hmm
CNN has covered the war?
To be honest with you, I haven't seen much from them like in a very long time. Last time I checked anything was a couple articles I think I posted, because when I post something about the Ukraine news, I'm trying to find an English source for people so they could look up and see it. And unfortunately for me, rarely find anything because there's just no coverage. I can only find Ukrainian source that is translated in English, and sometimes I go to like BBC, CNN. Politico, like Reuters, I think they call. They post stuff sometimes. So people like that to just show to the Western audience their version, okay, of the thing that has happened, and to make it more, I guess you could say, legitimate, to seem legitimate to people, because multiple sources are reporting on that or some shit. And sometimes I saw like some stuff from CNN, but not much. And I don't think I kind of like think like they sort of moved on from it, as many people did, not just their fault, obviously, from the Ukraine stuff. And especially when the Gaza and Israel started going, it was like a new hot thing, I guess you could say. And yeah, so I can't tell really what their coverage is now, because it truly don't really watch it that much, to be honest.
Okay.
Can I have a few more moments of your time? Thank you again for watching another book interview clip. The full interview is linked in the description. Right now, I need your help. I'm currently running a Kickstarter campaign for my next recently finished book, Champions of Elanthia. Champions of Elanthia is my in-depth exploration of the world of multi-user dungeons, featuring interviews with a dozen Dragon Realms and Gemstone 4 players, telling their stories and preserving gaming history. You can help me bring this project to life for as little as $5, so please back the Kickstarter today and help me fulfill this dream. I'm also happy to report that the people of GamerGate, Volumes 1 and Volumes 2, are now available on Amazon in both Kindle and hardcover formats. Thank you again for your time.